Witches. It's me, Luna. It's a beautiful, bright morning, bright, cloudy morning, and I thought, what better time to shoot an unboxing but now. So here we go. We are going to unbox the White Witch Tarot. This is one of, let me light a candle here. This is one of a few decks I've bought recently that are just major arcana. So, when playing cards really split off from tarot as playing cards, the majors were kicked out, and a lot of people at that time just used a set of the majors as this, spiritual journey kind of thing. And maybe we're seeing a bit of a return to that. I think it's kind of interesting. Pardon. Oh, shit. You know what? Oh, shit. Let's light it all up. Good morning. I'm here. Actually, good afternoon. It is just afternoon. All right, let's take a look. Let's zoom you in and take a look. Can you tell when I haven't actually prepared to sit down and shoot? Yeah, you can. All right. Okay, we're there. Black box. You can see it's kind of like corrugated cardboard underneath with the color over top. Can you see that? White Witch Tarot with this beautiful gold on it, by Maja Doust, D''Aoust. I think that font is a little problematic. All right. White Witch Tarot. Use the transformative and healing power of the White Witch. As White Witch Maja Doust, I would love, because it's spelled like August in French, which is A-O-U-T, ou, and it's pronounced ou. So, do explores the 22 major arcana archetypes of the tarot through meditative art and channeled mysteries in this stunning black and gold deck and companion guide. Use this deck as a traditional tarot majors-only system, or delve into a technique using protagonists and antagonists pitted against each other until they reach unification, much like Shakespearean therapy, where we explore problems via another lens. Fascinating. Learn to visualize and build your own reality by discovering answers to your deepest questions, bringing to light powerful truths, and seeing the radiance of the self through a poetic treatment of the majors. Created through decades of research into alchemy and different divination modalities, this deck offers a fresh new perspective on using the cards to unveil what has been hidden. And then we have two blurbs. Fates be praised, for her images of the major arcana. The White Witch of LA has crafted something different than the usual occult clutter. These figures flicker like faces in the curling smoke of Delphi. Shape-shifting shamanic glyphs that channel the always mutating archetypes straight into your hands. Remix at will. That is Eric Davis, host of the podcast Expanding Mind and author of Nomad Codes, Adventures in Modern Esoterica. Hold on one second. I'm going to close my door. I've recently become aware of how easy it is to hear the conversations that are going on downstairs. We have this stairwell that is a vortex. It's wild. We have sounds that are channeled through that stairwell that sound like they're coming from an entirely different place. Anyhow, with a masterful balance of wit and wisdom, the White Witch Tarot, lovingly created by Maja Doust, is a deck of true beauty, intrigue, and playful poetic riddles to challenge the status quo. In both verse and art, Maja helps you to envision and co-create your own reality by inspiring resolutions, a deep soul connection, accessing projections of incarnations, all while revealing powerful truths and our own magnificence. And that is healer and intuitive Aiden Chase. Okay. This is interestingly, Red Feather. Okay. There it is. I was going to say, don't tell me this is a knockoff. No, Red Feather is the publisher. Look at this beautiful box. Just gorgeous with the ribbons. See? Maja is a practicing white witch whose interest in alchemy and the esoteric sciences spans her entire lifetime. After completing her bachelor's degree in biochemistry, Maja studied Oriental medicine and later earned her master's degree on transformational psychology. Hell yeah. With a focus on shamanism in the I Ching. Maja writes about alchemy and magic and lectures nationally on esoteric topics. She works for her nonprofit, The Well-Wishers, along with Dr. Kelvin DeWolf, to bring education and services of ancient knowledge to the community of Los Angeles. Let's go. Oh, look at the inside of this box, you guys. I mean, it's beautifully packaged. Is it? Yes, it is a magnet closure. I will not deny you. Soft. Okay. Here's the book. Isn't that lovely? I love when they put matte and glossy together. It looks like there's a window. There's the back of the deck. And this is copyright 2017 by Maja Doost. Okay. And we have another little blurb on the back that says, Maja's magic shines through this deck in bright gold streams of liquid intelligence. This is not an interpretation of the major arcana, it's an invitation. Dive into an image, embody it, let it shimmer through your cells and transform you, by Liberty Larson, magician. I mean, glowing blurbs so far. And you can see the cards are directional-ish. You can certainly tell if they're reversed, but each side is upright. So, interesting. Look at the gold foil. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, figured out these cards had been shuffled. I have no memory of doing this. I've had this deck for a while. Can you tell? Anyhow, here we go. Here's the Magician. So it starts with the Magician, not the Fool. And we have a number of things we can key in on. Look at the eyes. So there's a human face with a nose and mouth, and then we've got animal on either side, not quite sure. And I guess with the horns, this must be a goat. There's an allusion to that up there too. Look at the hands with eyes on them, kind of fangs down here. I mean, let's take a look at how we approach these with the book right away here. Is using the deck, suggested techniques. Okay, so we don't get an in-depth description of each card. I'll read what we have for the Magician. So there's not going to be a description of what you're looking at in these images if you can't quite decipher them. The Magus is magnetic, acquiring ability, obscuring objects, weaving warp and weft, shifting into appearance, what is, already present, previously occulted, revealed now through direction of, okay. So you can read this like a sentence, even though it's just little. The Magus is magnetic, acquiring ability, obscuring objects, weaving warp and weft, shifting into appearance, what is already present, previously occulted, revealed now, through direction of immortal primal power that has existed before you ever thought to cast a spell, and will remain long after you have made a wish to become the one who knows, move magic through you as a wild wind blows. This is going to be fascinating. Okay, here we go. There's Magician. There's High Priestess. Look at the uterus and the fallopian tubes and the ovaries. Yeah, baby. I will be interested to see the Empress now. And we've got the two sides of a face, like a light and a dark. And here we have, look at this uterus now with the baby. All right, these are fascinating. These are definitely things you can work with in trance state to install some images. Look at the dove. Look at the hands. The emperor, eagle, wing, and like a look at the sperm. And so we have kind of like a, looks a little bit like a sack, maybe. Wow, potency. Hierophant. We have keys. and a skull, so we can talk about life and death. Not sure what that is. Fascinating. The Lovers. Look at the two hands coming together, kind of making a heart. There's a lot of wing-like things here, and it looks like, this is interesting, it looks like three people. So that kind of goes back to the Marseille style decks, where the Lovers card shows three people. And I guess other ones do too, because it shows kind of that winged spirit up in the air. That could be the third. Don't know. All right, we have Chariot. Again, hands. Hands and wings. Hands that kind of look like wings. Lots of eyes. If you covered up the name there and had me decide what card this is, ain't no way I'm coming up with Chariot. Just saying. Still a beautiful image. Also noting here that there are no numbers on these cards. Strength. Look at this. I mean, as a Reiki practitioner, that image means a lot, although I feel the Reiki here, but I also do feel it from my fingertips. Talking about healing hands. And look at the hands on the self, on the heart, on here. You know, this is a wonderful image, because a lot of times strength can talk about self-control, you know, self-mastery, taming the beast inside, and doing it through patience and love and that kind of stuff. And this, that's a wonderful image. The Hermit. Look at the ear. And this looks like a seagull-y type bird. I love this face. I love the emphasis on the ear. Something coming in, listening to spirit, the left ear. Listening to spirit. Wheel of Fortune, so we've got the Ouroboros there. We've got some wings and a foot. And something kind of gestating. Oh, well, looky there. I got two Wheel of Fortunes. Okay, bonus. So this might come into play in some spell work. Justice card. Suicide King. There's the kings in a playing card deck. There's the no. There was, like, you know, when you play poker with people, there was a string of wild cards that was twos, threes, one-eyed jacks, the Suicide King, and the man with the axe. So one of the kings has a sword going through his own head. The other one, another one, has an axe that they carry. So that's the Suicide King. And you see him there, and you see him that way as well. The only difference is this side is lighter. Okay. Hanged Man. Yow. He's just down here in a box confronting death. This looks like an hourglass, but he's sort of reaching up to this crescent. I mean, yeah, you could spend a lot of time just knocking around in your own subconscious, coming up with these images. Death. Serpents, wings, profiles of faces, this hand coming out to grip. You know, death comes for us all. A tear. Wowie, wow. And look at how they're put together into this skull image. So I'm looking closely, and it's good to look up every once in a while and look on my monitor, because then you see the image as a whole. Here's Temperance. Again, if you covered up the title and showed me this card, these cards, let's call it what it is, and said, name what they are, I would be hard-pressed to identify them as the traditional. The Devil. That I probably could, because of the horns and the little beardy thing. Okay, let's look up. Wow. The Tower. That I could identify as well, just because of the lightning, but I'd have to know that these were only the major arcana. The star, yes, that's identifiable, but not according to traditional images. It's just according to visual cues here, with obviously a star. The moon, that is an allusion to the traditional. Look at all the eyes. The sun, I mean, eyes open here, and then the sun inside, kind of. Wow. Judgment. I guess you could see things rising, but rising from the mind, and then the world. Ooh, there's an image. Talk about the weight of the world bending you down. Holy crap. And then we have the Fool. Eyes everywhere, eyes everywhere. That does bring up my understanding of the Fool as all potential. Anything is possible. But wow, these are nutty. All right, setting aside that extra Wheel of Fortune, let's go to the book. Using the deck, we have very little of an introduction, so I'm just going to read it. You know, we've got this page, and then we're into suggested technique. The psychodrama has been used for millennia. Let me stop tripping over my tongue here. The psychodrama has been used for millennia by human beings as a technique to process the relationship with the world through reenactment. Perhaps the best-known psychodramas were given to us by William Shakespeare, who represented the breadth of human experience through reliable characterizations of comedy and tragedy. There's much evidence that Shakespeare based his work on alchemical and occult teachings, which operate through an initial polarization of good and evil, followed by engaging a process of unifying these two forces into one inseparable whole. Okay. By acting out or representing an occurrence, knowledge and wisdom may be gained. Absolutely. All forms of ritual are only enacting in physical motion with intention. Okay. Yes, I agree with that. The tarot is a tool to focus the intention of the ritual motion into a system that mirrors the event. Focus the intention of the ritual motion into a system that mirrors the event. These are kind of wordy. If we leave out motion, the intention of the ritual into a system that mirrors the event. Okay. This deck uses the archetypes of the tarot to represent a psychodrama characterization of an event or aspect of ourselves. When we can put ourselves in multiple positions at once, we're better able to view the larger perspective of the situation as an observer instead of trapped inside it. White Witch Tarot is a mental adventure into psychodrama, methodically expressing the subconscious through characterization. When confusion arises, engage the psychodrama to release through reflection. Choose 3 cards from the deck. This is suggested technique. Card 1 is the protagonist. The role of the protagonist represents the positive forces at play in the situation. These forces act in a masculine fashion. Masculine forces protect, drive forward, and rise to create. They are light, external, and expansive. This card is what will overcome. And the antagonist. The antagonist we've got a lot of redundancy here. Card 2, the antagonist. The role of the antagonist. The antagonist represents, the antagonist represents the negative forces at play in the situation. These forces act in a feminine fashion. Feminine forces gather, shift, and eliminate. They are dark, internal, and contractive. This card is what will rebel. Okay, their unifier. The role of the unifier. The unifier represents the reconciling forces at play in the situation. Opposing forces engage in attraction or repulsion in order to rectify their state of interaction to achieve homeostasis. Okay? The game of the universe guides through relation of opposition to a state of harmony and peace through balance. This card is the intersecting resolution. That's all we got, folks. That's all we have. And when we get to the end, there's the Fool card, and we have conclusion. When the reading is over and you're placing the cards away, take a moment to review the response from an imagined state where it was not you who had asked the question, but rather someone who was alive 100 or even 1,000 years ago in a faraway land. How might they relate to the query? Fascinating. All right, let's just do this. Let's go and do this. Okay. So, I would like to turn off my Facebook. Okay. Hold on. There we go. And that's why I put these down. I'm so distracted today. I'm shooting this on December 8th, and we are finishing decorating and getting ready to bake and stuff. So I'm very distracted today. Sorry. And I would like to welcome and thank my guides and guardians, allies and ancestors for being here with me, for helping me pull out meaning, engage with my unconscious and pull out meaning from this deck. And I offer you fresh water, and I offer you the fire of Azrael. Let's zoom back out again so we can see the spread. Sorry, I'm just fucking around a lot today, you guys. Sorry. All right, so let's do that. Let's blow some life into them and shuffle. Let's do a riffle just for, shits and giggles. For feces and frivolity. There we go. Easy enough. Don't need to do that. Well, let's do it one more time. I just like a real mix, and with a deck this small, you really do want them mixed as much as possible. Okay. So, I would like, please and thank you, a good, clear message on where we are right now and what we need to do today while you're watching this to go from surviving into thriving. How can we elevate the energies of where we are right now? How can we raise our vibration, raise our frequency, confront what needs healing inside, and become our best selves from where we are right now, compared to where we are right now. All right, stopping shuffling. Let's do it this way. So let's take the first two, and then we'll bridge them with the third. We have the Hermit and the Hierophant. So this is masculine, this is feminine. The Hermit and the Hierophant. So the protagonist, this card is what will overcome. So, what will overcome? The exiled know a secret. The utopia of isolation affords an onset of eradication. I have to be in an altered state of mind just to read this stuff. The utopia of isolation affords an onset of eradication. Shame and guilt soon cease to be. The self returns to responsibility. Sorry. Was not the falcon once a sparrow expelled from tribal flock? Maybe? I don't know. The outsider is purged to face a haunting dirge of the eons of the self in restriction and alone. Tooth and claw there are grown, exchanging martyred social codependence with survival's law that takes its independence. Whew, this is heavy. This is heavy stuff here. So let me see what I can pull out. This card is what will overcome. The first thing that jumps out at me is an eradication of shame and guilt. Utopia of isolation. So talking about when we are in isolation and not confronted with the outside world and not being observed by the outside world, we can create a utopia. This is where we are who we are. unconditionally ourselves, not in reference to anybody else, not having to live up to any expectations. So this can become a utopia in isolation. And that brings the onset of eradicating shame and guilt, so we can go and create this utopia of who I really am. Who am I without all this overlay? Who am I without all the judgments that I've internalized from outside? The self returns to responsibility. So in the Hermit, we come into responsibility for who we are in this isolated utopia. If we're not satisfied with who we are, then who is that down to? Whose is that to work on? Ours. Responsibility. I don't understand the part about the falcon and the sparrow. Totally don't. The outsider is purged to face a haunting dirge of the eons of the self. So the outsider is purged. The Hermit says we turn inward and we turn away. Sorry, all those externals. How can I choke? Taking a breath in. Okay. In restriction, a haunting dirge of the eons of the self in restriction. So the dirge is for the death of those restrictions that we have placed on ourselves, that we have accepted from outside. And alone tooth and claw there are grown. So when we are internalizing and we are separating that true self from the overlay of the externals, tooth and claw are grown. We grow some strength. We grow some teeth. Okay? Fascinating. Exchanging martyred social codependence with survival's law. Okay, that takes its independence. Martyred social codependence. So we sacrifice survival's law, survival of the fittest. You have to adapt. Ooh. Social codependence. Okay, so that's, getting along outside, but it's also being dependent on external opinions to validate who we are. Survival's law says the one that can adapt is the one that survives. So that adapting can actually become codependence. Holy shit, this. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow, wow. Okay, so what will overcome is us giving time in isolation to beef up that true self, to discover, uncover, and validate and grow, magnify this true self. Give in isolation, when we spend time with our true selves, that true self grows and grows and grows and gets stronger and stronger, so that when we go outside, we are not as vulnerable, not as susceptible. So the Hierophant is the next one. Where the hell is this going to take us? This is what will rebel. Okay. The psychopomp slips in between through deathless steps behind the scenes, where voices slice like arrows thrown amiss, amplifying invisible avenues that grid the great abyss. The task of penetration over distance, too far for fleshy touch. The task of penetration over distance, too far for fleshy touch, is performed by an expression past the senses. A sideways glance, a slanted trail, the shot in the dark, indirection hits the mark, you have to feel it in your heart. Whew, I'm glad she only gives a 3-card reading, because these are fucking deep, you guys. Okay, what will rebel? The psychopomp slips in between. Voices slice like arrows thrown amiss, amplifying invisible avenues that grid the great abyss. This is, wow. This is really, it's talking about big internal. This is a mystery deck, because they are describing things here that are beyond description. And I feel like you need to be like really high or in a big trance state. Get yourself into massive trance state to use this deck, because it really needs to get underneath the conscious logical mind. You need to get that mind out of the way for these to really ring your bell. But it's talking about a shot in the dark. Indirection hits the mark. You have to feel it in your heart. What will rebel? I don't know, you guys. I mean, it is way, way, way off from my understanding of the Hierophant. It certainly talks about spiritual discipline. It talks about structure. It talks about limitation. It can talk about dogma. The psychopomp. What will rebel? The true self overcomes us, but what will rebel is, I don't know. If you have some comments on this, please put it below. I'm going to go for the third card here and see if we can pull some more meaning out of this Hierophant, but holy shit, is that enigmatic. That's the word, enigmatic. All right, let's pick a third. Here, freshen them up. The devil, hell yeah. Okay. The third one is, it's the bridge, the role of the unifier. This card is the intersecting resolution, reconciling of forces at play. So the Hermit talks about isolation. The Hierophant talks about just unconscious, subconscious stuff going on, I guess. Okay, devil. Come on now. Unrelinquishing. Oh, hey, guess what I just noticed? These cards all have a keyword. Individuation is the Hermit. This is very helpful. Individuation. The Hierophant is reception. So being receptive to lessons. All right, this is making sense now, because the Hierophant shows supplicants, you know, and as the Hierophant, it talks about being receptive, being in that liminal place where you're receptive to messages from Spirit. If you're one of the supplicants, it means being receptive to teachings from someone. All right, so reception. The devil is unrelinquishing. So what unifies these two? Unrelinquishing. What of my sorrow? What of my hate? Who shall take my great complaint? How do I live if I do not know? The addiction for the flail places focus on complexity detail. Bat wings flutter to and fro with nowhere they want to go. For all who will not, let it be and leave it. Deceiver whispers in your ear the many things you come to fear. Matters not if they occur, it can convince you till you're sure. Okay, so it talks about things that grab a hold of you. I'm looking at that unrelinquishing keyword. What of my sorrow? What of my hate? My complaints? The addiction for the flail? Okay, for all who will not let it be and leave it. Deceivers whisper, oh God, this is talking about that shit that just won't let your mind go. Obsession, obsessive thoughts, intrusive thoughts. How this unifies these two, I don't have a fucking clue. The true self. And what was that one again? Okay, reception, individuation, reception, unrelinquishing. So individuation, the reception, I guess, can make you receptive to messages coming from the outside in the light of this, talking about shutting off that outside, going into isolation, shutting off the outside things. What bridges is unrelinquishing. Okay, so being unwilling to relinquish the true self, rather than relinquishing, to these outside messages. You guys, unreal, just unreal. Relinquishing the messages, my complaints. Who will hear my complaints? So if we're isolating, who will hear my complaints? And the things that are going on in my head. And it talked about a codependence, social codependence. So sometimes we can be kind of addicted to our friends because we have somebody to let us air our complaints. But that's not the true self. That's the false self. And we need the true self to emerge from that. That's the active principle. What will overcome. So it's almost kind of backwards. I almost want the overcome card to be in the beginning, because if we had this as the, what's the feminine, okay, who will rebel. And this is intersecting resolution. I don't understand what the resolution here is. Maybe the resolution is to complain, is to get things out in the open about what's riding you hard. This is tough, you guys. Rebel. Yeah, I'm having a hard time fitting the cards. I mean, I can pull a reading out of these three, but I'm having a hard time kind of squashing each card into its category. They're not making sense when I do that. They make sense otherwise. I can pull a message out, but not when I try to put them in the categories. So, but, I mean, is it worth working with? Yeah, it is. This has got some deep-ass stuff. If you are into doing deep work, doing trance work, doing that kind of ritual work that they're talking about, I would give this a shake. I certainly would. What do you think? What do you guys think? Tell me. Give me your opinions. You know, I always engage with my commenters, and I appreciate you commenting. Damn, that was something else. If you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe and share this with some people, maybe on your other social media accounts. There are links down below if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee. Click on one of those and send me a couple of bucks, please and thank you. I do live stream readings on Wednesday nights, so pop in and hang out with us. We have a good time. I will see you next time on the next unboxing or the next live stream. And until then, thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. I really appreciate it. Take care. Have a great day. Blessed be.